The best division in football is coming up. The NFC North. Again, kind of like what I said about the AFC West, which I think is the second best division of football. Someone's got to come in last. And it's going to be Minnesota. 8 wins and coming in last place is just cruel. But I guess for Minnesota, you're like, hey, roster's really good, and we'll get a 4th place schedule in 2026. But I'm not a J.J. McCarthy believer. That's really what this comes down to. Listen, I would have kept Sam Darnold. I get the last 2 games of the year against Detroit in the huge game in Week 18, in the playoff game against the Rams. He was terrible. He went back to the old Sam Darnold. I get it. I understand that. At the end of the day, though, J.J. McCarthy, to me, this kind of sounds like a shot, was a poor man's Brock Purdy. He moves well, but the arm strength isn't there. He's really reliant on a run game. Now, the good news is, he does have a run game with Aaron Jones. He's got a very smart head coach in Kevin O'Connell, and he gets to throw to Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison once he comes back from suspension. Like, the weapons are there. Adam Thielen, who the Vikings just added in a recent trade. So, weapons-wise, the defense is coached by Brian Flores, who, by the way, would not mind if he became the next head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'd like to put that out there right now. But all of those things considered, I just think there's too many limitations at that position. Kevin O'Connell can make just about anybody work. I don't think he can with this kid. He was overly reliant on the run game at Michigan, and whenever he did drop back to pass, it never really blew me away. So the Vikings will finish in last in the NFC North. Coming in 3rd place and making the playoffs, the Bears, Chicago gets in at 10-7. So again, this is kind of one of those, okay, let's break this down moments. Massive upgrade at head coach, obviously, going from Eberflus to Ben Johnson, who I'm already like. Obviously, we know what a genius offensive coordinator he was with the Detroit Lions last few seasons. But I like the fact that he's coming in, and it feels like he's got a little bit of a Dan Campbell-esque, not saying he's Dan Campbell, obviously, but a Dan Campbell-esque like edge about him, where it's like, man, I'm holding guys accountable. Like he's taking shots at times at Caleb Williams in the pressers. He's taking shots at the Philadelphia Eagles tush push. Like, this guy does not care to tell you what's on his mind and what he's thinking. There's a Dan Campbell-esque edge about Ben Johnson. Also, one of the most underrated coordinator hires in the NFL this year. They hired a guy who is an atrocious head coach and is an amazing defensive coordinator, Dennis Allen, to run the defense. A defense in Chicago, which was actually pretty good last year. The offense just couldn't score points. O-line couldn't protect Caleb Williams. Speaking of Caleb Williams, I think the kid's going to get off to a little bit of a shaky start this year because he's playing with a different type of coach, and his coach is coaching a different type of quarterback than what both of them are used to. But I think by about Halloween, late October, going into November, but by mid-season trade deadline, around that time, with the weapons they've got, Colston Loveland, DJ Moore, with these guys, Rome Odunze, Cole Kmet, you're going to see Caleb start to come into his own in the sense that, oh, this is the guy we thought he would be coming out of USC as the first overall pick in 2024. The talent is there. There were moments. You saw moments last year against when he went to Lambeau and beat the Packers, a game where they could have very easily beaten the Minnesota Vikings when Caleb was awesome in the 4th quarter. Almost beat Green Bay in a home game this year. Like, there were moments, despite the bad O-line, despite the bad coaching staff. And Caleb, by the way, went like 2 months without throwing an interception. So the kid has talent. I think Ben Johnson, as the offensive wizard that he is going to get the absolute most out of this kid. Dennis Allen's going to coach the heck out of that defense, and the Chicago Bears will make the playoffs. Despite finishing 3rd in the division, double-digit wins, 10-7. They're the last team in. They hold off the Atlanta Falcons, last team in the playoffs in the NFC North. Number 2 may shock you. As for loyal viewers and listeners of the show, number 2 may shock you. My beloved, not my favorite team, my second favorite team, my beloved Detroit Lions. Now, 11-6, they're in the playoffs. Like, it's not the end of the world. Detroit's going to be in the postseason once again for the 3rd consecutive season. The reason I do not have them coming out of the NFC North as the champion this year is pretty simple. They lost both coordinators, both of which were excellent. I said all of last year when I picked the Lions to go to the Super Bowl, to be the 1 seed in the NFC, which they ended up being, I said, they've got 3 head coaches on their staff: Dan Campbell, Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn. Well, now you're just left with Dan Campbell. Now, that's still great because Dan Campbell is the guy who sets the tone, sets the culture in Detroit. Their defense, just by virtue of having everybody back healthy, the fact they added DJ Reed from the New York Jets in the offseason, I thought was a sneaky good move. Just by virtue of having healthy bodies, they will be a better defense than last year. But in terms of play calling, they're not going to have Aaron Glenn in there. Ben Johnson is not going to be there calling plays offensively. Now, again, Jared Goff, top 12 quarterback without a shadow of a doubt. Accurate when he has time. But with some of the retirement and injuries to that Lions offensive line, Frank Ragnow in particular, that's going to be a little bit of a concern. It's not quite the same O-line that it was the last couple of seasons. Jahmyr Gibbs is awesome. I think he's going to have a massive year for Detroit. Amon-Ra St. Brown is an excellent wide receiver. David Montgomery, like the whole bit. Like the offense still has plenty of pieces. Sam Laporta. I don't think it's going to be this crazy drop-off. There are some folks that don't believe in the Lions to make the playoffs because of the coordinator losses, because of the defensive concerns, and because of the losses in the offensive line. I would not go there. I still think the culture is too darn strong in Detroit. The Lions won't win the division, but they will make the playoffs. So Lions fans who've been very supportive of the show the last couple of years, don't come after me. You guys are going to get in to the postseason, and we'll see what you guys do in the postseason for the third year in a row. And that leaves none other, my sister's going to love this, than the Green Bay Packers as the NFC North champion. So first and foremost is this, and it's not an excuse, but based on what I observed watching Green Bay last year, I think this much was apparent. Jordan Love was not healthy after week 1. Remember Jordan Love against a great Eagles defense? Yeah, that gave Patrick Mahomes hell in the Super Bowl. Jordan Love carved them up. Use the name of the show. Carved them up over the course of that football game in Brazil on a slippery field, which in large part, that slippery field caused a knee injury late in that game against Philadelphia. Came back, felt like a little too early, got hurt again against Jacksonville. Was never quite right. Wasn't the Jordan Love that we saw in the second half of 2023 when he was arguably the best quarterback in football. But of course, the story with the Packers is pretty simple. They just added Micah Parsons, who's one of the 5 best players in his position in the National Football League. Can we show you what Micah Parsons has done since 2021? Yeah, pretty good. According to Pro Football Focus, he's basically indisputably one of the 5 best pass rushers in the National Football League. So you add that guy to a defense that was top 6 in every major statistical category a season ago as it pertains to yards, points allowed. Green Bay's defense was already good. They have guys like McKinney. They had now they have Micah Parsons. They have some dudes on that defense without a shadow of a doubt. And offensively speaking, Green Bay to me, obviously they're very well balanced. Josh Jacobs, 3rd in the league in rushing last year. The O-line's good. Green Bay to me was a team where it's, okay, they have a lot of really good number 2 receivers. You look at Romeo Doubs and Jaden Reed, got some really good 2s. They don't have a true one. Well, I think they just drafted one in Matthew Golden. Matthew Golden, who was one of my favorite receivers out of the draft in 2025 out of Texas. I think he is going to ball out with Jordan Love. I think he's going to do a fantastic job as the number 1 receiver. Stacked receiving core. Tucker Kraft's a good tight end. Josh Jacobs runs the football. It's Green Bay, so the offensive line is going to be good. The defense went from really good to, holy crap, they might be one of the best in the NFL. That's why I put them above Detroit, is because I have too many concerns about Detroit's defense. To me, what the Micah Parsons trade signified, okay, if you're the Green Bay Packers, we're betting on Jordan Love. We are betting in the Jordan Love, who had 23 touchdowns, 3 picks, and a pass rating of 112 in his last 10 games of 2023 that got him the contract that it got him. I think you're going to see that Jordan Love, as opposed to the one last year who was never healthy, took a little bit of a step back. I think the Packers are a true, legit Super Bowl contender, maybe the favorites to come out of the NFC alongside Philadelphia. Green Bay will go 12-5 and win the NFC North. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.